Hello, I'm Dr. Gurung. I'm a consultant psychiatrist. So this week I managed to finish this book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and this book was written by Mark Mason. If you see the title of this book, it sounds to be very provocative, but it seems to be like idea to sell this book, and this book is one of the number one New York best time seller. When I read a book, I love the books that really challenges my thought process. There are certain things that I want to summarize from this book, which I'm going to take in my normal life. When I read this book, the thing that I found quite interesting is I'm a very positive minded person, and I had a view that we need to ignore the negative side. But I've also realized that if you ignore the negative side, then our thought process, we might not have a balanced way of thinking, and it can also hamper our critical thinking. So I've realized that I need to be mindful not to just have a positive kind of things towards things, but I also need to take into account the negative side of it. I've also realized the negative things that has happened in our life also is a way of challenging things. And interestingly, what I've also found in this book is there's no any right or wrong. There's no any positive or negative. There's always being less wrong, and the more we tend to find more knowledge, will be lesser wrong. So there's no any destination of being a perfect uh, right or wrong. So this is one of the things that I'll take into account. Now the other thing is happiness is not a destination. Happiness comes from solving problem, and I've also realized we as a human being are just an advanced form of ape, and happiness comes from solving problem and doing something. If you do something, it changes some chemicals in the brain called dopamine, and this is the thing that keeps us motivated to do things. Now, the third thing I want to also highlight from this book is the mindset is also very important. If you look at the mindset, a lot of the people think that they are exceptional in certain things, but if you have an average mindset, it gives an opportunity for growth. There's a lot of people are entitled in this world. They feel like they are superior. They also have got the victim mentality. They feel like the world needs to bend for them. And in those people, what I've also realized from my own clinical practice is it impacts the way they deal with their day-to-day activities, because for them responsibility is and accountability is not a thing. I've also realized in my own life, once I was able to get over this victim mentality and entitled mindset, by taking more responsibility and accountability to make changes in my own life, things have started to change. Now, the other thing is value is also important. Value means how you base your life. For this, in this book, it gave an example of two different stories which I was able to relate. So there was a chap called Christine who was a part of Metallica before they released the album. So he was chucked out from the band, and he had a sense to prove himself that he was a better bass guitarist, and he felt Metallica made a mistake, so he created his own band called Megadeth. Megadeth sold almost like 15 million album, but the thing is, the Metallica sold 150 million. So this chap had always a kind of like thing against the Metallica. So despite of him having a lot of money and a lot of success, he was not truly happy in the sense what he achieved. So sometimes not having the right kind of parameters for values also impact the way we see and view the world. So it's all about perceptions that we create. The second example, which is quite contrary to this, is there was a chap called Pete Best, who was a member of Beatles. He was also chucked out from the Beatles before they released the album and they became famous. Pete Best was chucked out because most of the attention was given to him. Once he was chucked out, he had depression. He also wanted to commit suicide, but fortunately, he didn't do it. He turned his life around, and he had a good family, and he never regretted. So his baseline and values were different. And when he was interviewed a bit later, he said that he's quite happy with what he have achieved in his life. So if you have to compare his life with the rest of the Beatles, It seems like he did a fairly good job. Now, the last bit, which I also found it quite interesting, is the book also gave a little bit insight on the death. Death is something which is inevitable, and reading this book, they have the writer has highlighted a book that which is in my reading list. The title of the book is called. Let me just have a look. It's called Denial of Death. Okay, so that is one of the things. So no matter what we do, we are going to die. We have got a limited time, so we need to make the best use of our time. A lot of the people, they build a lot of scriptures, and just to make sure that they are remembered. But we also need to remember that we need to live for the present. Okay, so these are all the things that I have learned from the subtle art of giving a fuck. Now, from tomorrow, I've got a beautiful book called 7.5 Lessons About Brain, and this is the book for this week. And I'm going to enjoy this book. And this book will be helpful for me because, as a consultant psychiatrist working in a dementia, and the way the brain function is also one of the areas of my interest and expertise. Thank you very much.